For somebody from a working class background, there weren't a lot of opportunities, to see the world. It was either join the army, become a football player, and join a band. That was the only way out.
Just what is it that you want to do?
Well, we want to be free. We want to be free to do what we want to do. And we want to get loaded. And we want to have a good time.
I would never have joined the army, so that was that. It was either sport or rock and roll. And I chose rock and roll.
Primal Scream defined the music of the early 1990s, when Screamadelica became the must-have album of the acid house generation.
I really believe it's a great rock and roll story. I really think we're one of the last real rock and roll bands.
It was pretty nuts. We collectively were crazy at that point.
It was like some kind of mad circus. It was like going to a party where you did a bit of singing in between.
It was fucking anarchy. It's amazing that anything ever got released or anything ever got done.
This film was about a bunch of working class guys from Glasgow who set out on an adventure to Memphis, Tennessee to make the most beautiful rock and roll record that they can. And somehow along the way, they lose sight of what they're trying to achieve. 25 years later, they find proof of the dream record that they wanted to make.
Come together, oh, come together, oh, come.
The reaction to Screamadelica was phenomenal. It's an album that was the zeitgeist of the acid house movement and represented to people their experiences that they had in that world.
Primal Scream spearheaded the independent label Creation Records, but with success came excess, pressure, and the need to follow up their seminal album.
Maybe the greatest thing about Primal Scream for me is that every album that they ever make is a reaction to the one they've made before. Everyone's always interested in what they're going to do next. And that is added pressure, because sometimes you get it right and sometimes you don't.
I think they all wanted Screamadelica Part 2, and we wanted hits. And I'm not going to lie about it. We always wanted to be, successful.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Being working class and not having family wealth to fall back on if everything fails, your biggest fear is financial insecurity. And I always had that fear. And, that's why I wanted to have hit records, so that I didn't ever have to work for somebody ever again and be told what to do.
Primal Scream was born out of working class Glasgow. It not only gave Bobby his drive, it is also where his childhood friendships and musical influences were to shape his future.
The first single I ever bought was Hellraiser by Sweet. First time that I really showed any interest in music was glam rock, and it's been a huge influence, hence the silver shirts and the gold shirts. It's been a kind of staple.
I first met Bobby Gillespie when I was 12. That's 45 years ago. He was a very quiet guy, and I was really quiet as well. I kind of knew early on that I was quite weird, so I just kind of didn't bullshit anybody. I was just officially a bit strange at school. Bob, I think, he kind of ran about with the boys sort of thing. I didn't know him. I said hi in the playground and everything. And then I was 15 and he was 14. As my mum said, Alan, it's like Bobby Gillespie's at the door. I was like, really? What? And I went out and it was Bobby, and he went, will you take me to a Thin Lizzy concert? I was like, I was secretly thinking, why don't you just buy a ticket and go? But anyway, I took him to the concert and he loved it. Phil Lynott with his Fender bass had a shiny kind of like plate on it, and he shone it right into Bobby's face. You could see him kind of falling in love with rock and roll at that gig. Do you know what I mean? And then he went to a lot of gigs after that. We kind of were kind of pals, and then punk happened.
Punk rock kind of exploded into my consciousness through bands like the Sex Pistols, the Stranglers, the Jam, the Clash, Richard Hell and the Voidoids, Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers. Ramones were important. The message of punk, you know, that I took coming from Malcolm McLaren and Johnny Rotten was that you can do this. Anybody can do this. You know, you don't, you know, and I took that very, very seriously.
But Bobby's musical roots went much deeper than glam and punk rock.
Take these chains from my...
There was a lot of music around in my house when I was a child. I remember my dad had an album. Had a purple cover, Ray Charles's Greatest Hits, Volume 2, I think, and it was on Stateside. And also my mum had a Hank Williams 10-inch album called Moanin' the Blues.
Then I'll stop moaning the blues.
I lived in these flats here on the top floor, council flats. Robert Young lived up there, top floor. In fact, in that bedroom there is where I first heard him play guitar. He had a Telecaster copy that he got for Christmas. He was like 14 or something, and he could play English Civil War by the Clash, but very, very competently. And it blew me away that this little kid could play punk rock, you know. At the bottom of the street there, 39 Brownlee Street, is where Jim Beattie lived, and he's the guy that started Primal Scream with. Jim played guitar. So between these two streets, you have these are the streets that gave birth to Primal Scream.
I met Bobby through Alan McGee. I put an advert for musicians because I wanted to form a band, and as fate would have it, Alan McGee was the only person who answered.
We ended up in a little tiny band with each other, with Captain Scarlet and the Mistrons at Andrew's house.
In my bedroom, I mean, I don't know how my parents put up with this, but I had a Marshall amp, and so Alan would come round and we'd all plug into my amp and rehearse. And then eventually Bobby came round and, you know, we just sung punk songs together. We were all obsessed with music, and you're just dreamers. You're 16 years old and you're a dreamer. We'd never thought it was actually going to happen.
Andrew was an incredible musician, even at 15-year-old. He was incredible. And then Bobby would roll about the ground. It's kind of Iggy Pop, but I think he was trying to be Jimmy Pursley. Do you know what I mean?
He'd roll around the floor screaming and shouting, which I guess is what he does to this day.
That was the beginning of the whole us hanging out with each other.
That was the beginnings of Primal Scream and creation right there.
At the start of 89, they certainly weren't picking up sort of fans in the music press, and in fact it was really hard for me to even get on anybody to even review them at that time as well. People just weren't particularly interested.
The first time I wrote a song that I thought the lyrics were great and the song was great was a song called I'm Losing More Than I'll Ever Have. It was very honest, and I was kind of scared to write it, but the fear that I had about revealing myself, I had to make that leap in order to be a writer, and that was, for me, it was a breakthrough, you know. That was the first one that I felt we'd written something good. That was the song that Andrew Weatherall remixed, which became Loaded, which became our first hit.
That was a real pivotal moment for them. To the Primals, he was this dance guy, and obviously at the time the Primals were sort of this rock machine, two very different worlds collided. I'm losing more than I'll ever have. It was sort of this kernel that actually became Loaded, which is what transported them into their next dimension.
When Loaded was a hit, changed everything for everyone.
It was happening, so it was great.
I remember getting a phone call from Andrew Innes at like 4 a.m. He'd been at a club called Subterranea in West London, where Andrew Weatherall was DJing, and Weatherall had played Loaded, and the place went crazy. Andrew Innes was so excited. He was like, "Oh my God, I think we could have a hit record here." The whole place went insane.
We want to be free to do what we want to do.
People like Kevin Rowan from Dexter's Midnight Runners and Mick Jones from The Clash were coming up and shaking Andrew's hand, you know, and these guys were like our heroes, and he just said it was an incredible moment, but he was so excited, you know, and I remember that feeling, this is okay, here we go, you know.
Well, wait, baby, let's go.
I mean, the rock scene for us was passé, it was old, and it was just finished, and it was defunct, and it said nothing, it meant nothing, you know. And the acid house scene was sexy, it was provocative, had the best drugs, the best girls.
It was the first time any of us had a hit record, and it was Top of the Pops, and then obviously the gigs. It was just it was exciting.
I remember being at Top of the Pops. I mean, this gives you an idea of where Creation was at. March 1990, and like, I think we gave them £150 float, which I think they spent on party equipment, and they all got the tube in the bus to Top of the Pops. It was great.
I wanted to have a hit record for my whole life, you know, and it was happening, and I was really, really happy. It was great.
My name's Denise Johnson, and I sang Primal Scream. Being around Primal Scream around the time of Screamadelica, it was a lot of fun. It was raucous, it was mad, it was crazy. It was like going to a party where you did a bit of singing in between.
When we put out Screamadelica, I think Creation pressed up 60,000 albums. We thought it was a cult album. We never realised it was going to go and sell over 1 million copies. I think we sold to 60,000 by the Thursday, and we put it out on the Monday.
The night of the Mercury Prize, I'll never forget it. It's like, and the winner of the first Mercury Prize is Primal Scream. No one can believe it. It was nice for the album to be recognised amongst the big names and people like U2. I thought it was a strike for the little man.
I can't describe what it was like in the early 90s of Creation because it's too vast a subject. But it was pretty nuts, you know. We collectively were crazy at that point.
Screamadelica was like this big shiny album, a fantastic cover and all these hipsters working on it, and the officers were fucking dumb. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting, you know, squalor.
Primal Scream are so interlinked with the success of Creation Records. They defined Creation Records, you know, the Primals. Everybody would say it's Oasis. It's not Oasis. Maybe Oasis sold all the records, you know, but Primal Scream created the situation for me to do Creation Records properly, because it's like having an amazing partner in life. You can actually achieve anything, and that's what Primal Scream were to me. Do you know what I mean? That's why Creation Records was successful, because I had Bobby Gillespie and Andrew Innes and Robert Young.
When Oasis signed to Creation in '94, they took us to the warehouse where all the, you know, their stock is, and they said you can go in and choose anything you want. And we all started laughing. We were just like, we've already got Screamadelica. The rest of it's shit, you know. Who wants a BMX Bandits 12-inch? the first thing Bobby Gillespie said to me, which I'll never forget, which I thought, oh, what a fucking odd thing to say, was, this is, you know, from Oasis. Oh, right. And the first thing he said was, what's your favourite Bob Marley B-side? And I thought, really? Fuck off. You know what I mean? Fuck off. And someone handed me a guitar that night to play me your favourite song. And I played him This Guy's in Love with You by Burt Bacharach. He didn't fucking say much after that, and we were firm friends ever since.
With the huge success of Screamadelica behind them, Primal Scream had to start thinking about their next project.
Everybody was waiting for Primal Scream because of the success of Screamadelica. We were aware of that, therefore we had to deliver.
You want to continue having hits. You don't want to go back to playing to 200 people again. But there was absolutely no ideas. We were, you know, we'd been on tour and we were creatively, there was nothing. We had nothing to offer and we were burnt out. But right away, and then somebody, I mean, I think it was Creation came up with the idea of, well, why don't you go in the studio and see what comes out, which is probably the worst thing you can do.
We just basically got wasted the whole time. And guys would come and sell us drugs. And then we would just sit and do drugs with them, like freebase, cocaine and heroin and
I was just waiting about for people to arrive with, you know, different kind of chemicals, and then you'd stay up all night jamming and it was rubbish.
The drummer was fucking nodding off during takes, falling asleep at the drum stool. I remember running out and punching him in the back of the head, Toby. I was like, fucking wake up. I just went, fuck a lot of you, I'm out of here. Because I just felt that we had this opportunity after Screamadelica, and people were expecting us to do something really great, and I expected us to do something really great, but between all of us, we were doing nothing except getting fucking wasted.
Maybe it wasn't as productive as it was hoped. It was called the Roundhouse. Maybe it was going around in circles a little bit.
I think we had one song, Everybody Needs Somebody, and then we had the chorus for Rocks, and we had nothing else. And we were trying to, it was just bad, you know.
There was so much abuse in the band at that point that they thought, where can we go to get away from people that are going to give us drugs?
Somehow there was an idea to go to Memphis and record with Tom Dowd as a producer, because we loved the work that Tom had done with Rod Stewart and the work with Aretha Franklin.
I don't think Primal Scream went to Memphis because it was known as sort of a fantastic location to go and record. You know, once upon a time, yes, but that's what Primal Scream were interested in. Primal Scream were interested in the once upon a time. They were interested in Tom Dowd, who'd made Aretha Franklin's music. They weren't interested in sort of working with somebody who had just made an album in '93. They were interested in somebody who'd made an album in the '60s and the '70s.
I mean, still to this day, I'm envious of them that they managed to wangle the money out of McGee to go to fucking Memphis. You know, there was us in Cornwall. No offence, you know, but still, it's not Memphis, is it?
We wanted to make a record that sounded as great as the records that we loved by artists like Dusty Springfield or Elvis Presley or Aretha Franklin, Percy Sledge, James Kerr. We needed a rhythm section, so we asked the Muscle Shoals rhythm section. It was David Hood on bass and Roger Hawkins on drums, who'd played on so many fantastic records. We also worked with the Memphis Horns, who played with Aretha Franklin, Otis Redding, Arthur Conley, Wilson Pickett, you know, it's the best, right? We were on the Dole in 1990, and then this is 1993, and we're in the studio with the Muscle Shoals rhythm section, and Memphis Horns and Tom Dowd. If you told me in 1989 that this would be happening in 1990, I would have said to you, you're fucking crazy.
I was seated at home peacefully in South Florida one day, and I received a CD that when I played, I thought, they have me confused with somebody else, because this is not the nature of music that I do.
He said to me, I've listened to your album, which was Screamadelica, and I don't know why you want to work with me.
2 days later, I received a cassette of the material that the group was entertaining doing, which was much more in the tradition that I am accustomed to.
They knew Memphis music better than I did. I mean, they kind of gave me a kick in the ass to say, there's some things here these guys know that I don't even know and I live here.
They aspired to it, they were learned, and they knew names of musicians and studios and so forth. I mean, they had teethed on records that were familiar to me.
Yo! Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We made all the Aretha Franklin hit records, The Big Respect, Never Loved a Man, The House that Jack Built.
Cut some of them in Muscle Shoals, some of them in New York.
And some here. And the fact that Tom Dowd had taken on Primal Scream means something.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the Memphis Horns, and David and Roger, obviously, you know, we know the records, the music, but to be quite young kids, really, from Glasgow and Birmingham, yeah, it was fairy tale stuff.
When I got the phone call to say, we need you in Memphis, my only worry was that the producer, who I knew was Tom Dowd, would think I was absolutely crap. He's worked with these amazing singers and he's going to think I'm no good.
For me personally, it was very hard at first playing with those guys because I'd never played with a great drummer before.
The band needed to up their game, and when Bobby came to record the most famous track on the album, he too felt the pressure.
I remember before we did Rocks, and I knew it was a big song, and we had the Memphis Horns on this track with Roger, David, the Primal Scream boys. I had to sing it. I was shitting it. Tom Dowd in the control room. Throb comes out. I said, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm singing. He goes, says, have that. He goes, no, I can't. He goes, no, have that, and you're going to sing it. You're going to sing it as it should be sung. So I went, okay. Did it in 2 takes. I remember going out at the studio and everybody going, whoa. And I said, no, I think I can do it better. I think I can do it better. Give me another chance. I can do it again. And Tom said, Mr. Gillespie, when you come down from outer space tomorrow afternoon, come back in and listen to it, and you will know that this is the master take. Right, Mr. Gillespie, good night.
Some of the best things we got were on the live takes when they were just putting it down, and it was the real thing. And you know, there were times when I would have a lump in my throat because it was so pretty.
Robert, Andrew, and Martin, they're playing as good as Roger and David. They really stepped up, and they were playing in the fucking Premier League. The Scream boys, they're in that league. They're that good. I'm really proud of them, you know.
This visit to Memphis, when they were in the company of Roger Hawkins, David Hood, yours truly, the Memphis Horns, the background singers, it instilled confidence in them as to how simple soul really is. It's not a study, it's not a method, it's an empathy of feeling among people. I feel that Bobby Gillespie discovered how well he can sing, but he's never had confidence in his own instrument.
They were obviously very serious about what they were doing. I only heard about 3 of the songs, of the new songs, maybe 4. The thing that I recorded with them was Big Jet Plane. Of course, it's obviously a radically different direction for the band. To be that off into the American music that they're into, which is not like mainstream American pop music by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, they touch my heart. I think good music comes up from the street, and it's harder and harder to get in the door. You know, so when a band like Primal Scream makes an artistic statement like this record is, it's significant.
Writers, me included, suffer from trying to write something similar when you should really adopt the Primal Scream approach, which is do the complete opposite. You know, so if Morning Glory should have been, the follow-up to Morning Glory should have been a, you know, Albanian reggae album.
Returning home with their dramatically different album, Give Out But Don't Give Up, Primal Scream found themselves confronted with a lack of confidence in their new vision. The Tom Dowd mixes were not to see the light of day.
All right, McGee, so what happened after Memphis?
Good question.
I don't really know how we came to this decision not to release the original mixes.
It was kind of like, it was a bit like a bomb that went off in a way. Nobody really knew about it. So I just went to Dowd, send me the mixes, and I heard the mixes. The reason I was like, I don't think it's right, was I thought the mixes, for the 90s anyway, were too thin. And at that point you had such a, you had the wind behind you with Screamadelica that had to be a big record.
So he sent you those mixes,
yeah, and
then you...
I think at that point you were lost, Bobby.
Yeah. In what way was I lost?
Am I supposed to say it? Am I supposed to say it right?
Yeah.
Well, I think you were like kind of on a, you'd a bit of a habit, not with heroin, but with some other drugs, do you know what I mean? And you were a little bit broken from it, do you know what I mean? Not the drugs, but you're a little bit broken from the making the record part.
Yeah, I think I was a bit heartbroken, I think, because in my head, I felt a bit defeated, I think. I thought, that's a really interesting record to make after Screamadelica, and it's like the 360 degree, you know, it's like different planet. Maybe being a bit unsure myself, you know, I maybe lost confidence in it, and because I wasn't really getting, you know, normally you were like the cheerleader, you know, and if you were like, it's great, we were like, you know.
If you were really, really on one, I would never win the argument. Right. But this one you just kind of gave in after about a week, you know, and we got George in. And I wanted to use Draculius for the get-go because he'd come off the back of 2 5 million albums.
Did Rocks, Call on Me, and Jailbird. At first they said just, you know, go ahead and mix it and, you know, make a regular kind of rock radio thing, whatever, American rock and roll. And I told them, I was very honest. I said, you know, Andrew, I said, I could mix this record and it's going to sound pretty similar to what you gave me. But if you want something really stupid, I can ruin it for you. And he said, well, go ahead. So that's what I opted to do. I would call up over the phone and leave it on people's answering machines, or if I could find anybody, you know, I'd try to find Andrew, but he didn't have a machine, and then I'd call Alan's house and just play 30 seconds of it.
And it was like, and I was like, God, it's going to be a hit. rock's transformed from like, this is a song Bobby loves, I don't get it, to like, it's a smash.
Just a few weeks before Rocks was going to be released,
he
said, I've been playing it to people and nobody likes it.
I don't remember
And you
that.
said, except one guy. And you said one guy, and he's in this new band I've signed called Oasis, and his name is Noel Gallagher.
Along with the hit-making skills of George Drakoulias, Alan McGee also signed up the psychedelic funk overlord George Clinton of Parliament Funkadelic to remix some of the songs. George would give a psychedelic funk twist to the bluesy country soul tracks they had already recorded with Tom Dowd in Memphis.
Yeah, Primal Scream had a ball. I guess you could tell by the record I joined in a lot.
I remember thinking, oh my God, I've done a duet with George Clinton. To me, that is amazing because the first record I ever bought was One Nation Under a Groove by George Clinton.
We didn't want to take away from what the group had on tape, so we sampled the group itself and sampled the last record they had out, turned some things backwards, and it came out real good.
When was the first time Sony heard the music that we'd done in Memphis?
When I delivered them the finished record.
Or with the Drakoulias mixes and George Clinton?
Yeah. The reason I done it that way, Bobby, was that there was so much I kept the pressure from you, but there was so much pressure on Primal Scream to deliver.
Really?
And you were not balanced as people to deal with a major label going, we gave that ginger guy like millions of pounds to make you famous, and you lot would have been freaked out. So I delivered them the record, and to be fair, it sold 1 million records within about 3 to 6 months, so it wasn't that bad. You know, it wasn't that bad a move, but
remember the British music press saying, "What the hell? What's this all about?" They never got it because they never liked black music, you know.
The general feeling at that time was that, you know, this on terms of the music papers, is that, you know, they were so interested in, you know, Blur and Oasis. It sort of, there was, where acid house had all been about commonality and people coming together, you know, things had moved on to this sort of music which was all about egotism and separatism. The whole Blur Oasis thing had so exploded and taken over that I think Give Out really got quite lost amongst what else was happening.
That was a real journey, though, you know, Screamadelica to that album, because in everything in between, because it's like we all lost our minds, really, to be honest. You know what I mean?
I think going to Memphis was like a big, it was, it was, for me, it was like a huge adventure. I actually forgot that we had recorded these other versions, and whether that was drugs or whatever, I don't know. You know, maybe it was just the sheer volume of work that we did in the years after, because we made a lot of albums and we toured a lot, so we were always about the next thing, you know, and we forgot about the past. The past wasn't important. We moved on, or maybe we moved sideways, I don't know.
The years passed, and Primal Scream released another 7 albums. It was then that Andrew Innes made a discovery in his cellar that would take the band back to the heady days of 1993.
Well, I've a box of old cassettes in my cellar, which, you know, that's all the cassettes back to 1991, I think. And I was just having a rummage in them, and I just saw this cassette box as Ardent, and I was just wondering if they were Tom and Jeff's mixes before we went and ruined it. I sent off, mail ordered a little cassette player with a USB connection and made a recording.
I got an email from Andrew Ennis and it just went, just found this, exclamation mark. It was the Tom Dowd mixes. I was like blown away by how beautiful the ballads were. And I called him up and I said, why the fuck didn't we release it? He was like, I don't know, we were fucking crazy, you know? When I heard that tape that Andrew sent me, I was really touched by it. I heard the real version of Free. It's, you know, a really dark night of the soul blues song, you know. I was really, really happy when I heard it. And we sent it to Sony and they loved it and we said, what about releasing it? And they were like, yeah, let's release it. Coming back to Memphis is bittersweet for us. Tom Dowd is gone, and we miss our brother-in-arms, Robert Young, who sadly passed away a few years ago. His dirty, dangerous, and beautifully damaged guitar playing really was the soul of the recordings.
They are to meet the original sound engineer, Jeff Powell, who is to remaster the Tom Dowd mix for them. They haven't seen one another for many years.
Wow, just hey. Bobby! Hey,
Betsy! Sometimes 28 years seems like 3 minutes. What's up, man? How are you, buddy? Good to see you. Welcome back to Memphis.
All right. What's this?
We're just now, these are the mastered,
all right,
new masters. Just got them yesterday.
That's...
These are the pre-mastered for vinyl, so this is what I'll be cutting.
I was the recording engineer and mixer for the Primal Scream record, Give Out But Don't Give Up, 25 years ago in 1993. Andrew called me and he kind of just told me the story. And I said, well, you know, I don't throw anything away and I have loads of DAT tapes and work tapes and final mix tapes and everything in far better condition than a cassette. I was listening to it in my vinyl mastering room first time I got it across, and I mean, literally, people that were walking around the hallway were sticking their heads in the door saying, what is that? And it gave me goosebumps, because it's been 25 years and all these, I've done so many records since then, but it was like I was there yesterday. It gives me goosebumps every time, man.
So it's finally getting a release, so it's a real shame that Robert with us.
Stick slide in there.
Check this out, you guys. I took these down off the wall of my house. I have them in my hallway, so I see you guys all the time, but that's me, you, and Tom at the desk, man. 793, thanks for another good album, Tom Dowd.
Yes.
There, you're turning a knob or something, man. Is that
pretend?
Yeah, the pretend pan.
Lead singer's mix.
Yeah. I got something else here to show you, man. We've got these notes that came along in this packets with that were with the master tapes, and these are amazing because they've got these typed in notes. Tom would always bring his little laptop, which at the time was kind of a new thing.
I like this. Rocks. Feels wonderful. Leave
it alone with a million exclamation points. Check this one out on Jesus, April 26, 93.
They're flirting with taking it to the key of C, capital letters, exclamation mark. Can Bobby sing the last two verse lines in C, question mark, no, exclamation mark.
You know, another thing he used to do that I've seen on all the records I did with him, when he would go out to talk to you when you were singing, like overdubbing vocals, he would have me turn off the speakers. He would go out there one-on-one instead of just hitting the button and talking through that.
Oh yeah, no.
He would personalize it with you. He goes, turn off the speakers, kid, I'm going out. So he would go out there and actually talk. Sometimes he'd put headphones on and sit with you while you were singing.
I know, he was great. I mean, I didn't have a lot of confidence as a singer back then, and you know, and then working with Tom, who'd obviously worked with Aretha Franklin and Ray Charles and people like that, and Dusty Springfield.
Singers, didn't
He's worked with some pretty good singers. I was like not intimidated, but you know, I was doing my best. So he really helped me through it. You know, I think at one point he had me sit in a chair because when I was singing, I'd have the headphones on, I'd be rocking back and forward, and I would go either side of the microphone, and so he would say, it's a good take, but we're missing lines. So I think at one point he had me sit in a chair.
I remember that now, yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah, well, he said Rod Stewart would sing, throw his head back when he'd sing, and he'd go off mic like you're talking about. So Tom ended up making him wear a football helmet. And that with the face guard, they put the 414 in the helmet, so wherever he went, the microphone went with it, and he put the headphones through the ear holes. So he was like, yeah, you know, he's the biggest rock star in the world at the time, and plus it took him down a few notches, made him look like a dweeb. That's brilliant.
It's good.
That's typical Tom, man.
Whoa, it's me. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
My name is David Hood, and I'm the bass player for the Muscle Shoals rhythm section. I've worked with Percy Sledge, Aretha Franklin, Wilson Pickett, the Staple Singers, Rod Stewart, Traffic, all kinds of people. You think about all these people we've worked with, and then these young guys, they're just crazy. At first, I wasn't sure. You'd say, give me a G, the note G, and they would look at me like, G? What's a G?
They weren't messing about, and they were, you know, they were rehearsing, and so we had to step up and get with them. So it meant you had to be, you know, you couldn't be drunk at rehearsal, and they weren't drunk when they were playing with Aretha Franklin.
I came today because I wanted to see them. After all these years, I can't believe it's been 25 years. I still have the T-shirt.
My name is Susan Marshall, and I sang backgrounds on most all the songs on Give Out But Don't Give Up. When the album was finally released in 1994, it was so different. Not in a bad way, but just different. It was just like, oh, okay. Now listening back to the original mixes, oh God, I cried. I wish that Tom were part of this little journey back. This is a really great thing that it's coming around full circle, and that the intention of the art that they set out to make in the beginning is now going to finally come out. It's beautiful, really. Those mixes reminded me of Tom. Sorry, I hate crying. They are so true to who they are. They are so authentic. And that's what makes them so special. You know, and they take all the sounds of that raw rock and soul and put it together to make it their own. And it's magic. It really is. It's magical.
Sam Phillips Recording Studios has been the home of great artists such as Elvis, Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins and Jerry Lee Lewis, to name but a few. It is also the home to Jeff Powell's vinyl mastering room, where they are going today to cut the first disc of the original Give Out But Don't Give Up sessions. The studios are now run by Sam Phillips' son, Jerry.
Welcome, gentlemen. I use that term loosely. How are you, man? Welcome to Sam Phillips Studio. This place is really the sister studio of of the Sun Studio over there, which Sun Studio really was never called Sun Studio. It was always Memphis Recording Service. And Sun Records was housed in there, but this one opened in September of 1960. And so this is our control room A. And of course, I think you guys know Jeff Powell there.
Guys.
But this is our console, actually English console, DDA console here, and it works out real well for us.
I've got a surprise for you guys. I got something to play for you.
Yeah?
See if you can guess what this is. It's a multi-track transfer I did. See if you can tell who it is. Pull up the faders one at a time. Start with just some bass. You already know? So these are the original masters from, I did a tape transfer last year for these guys.
Oh my God.
Go ahead and grab a fader, man. Push them up, play with it.
It's an 8-track.
8-track, yeah. How about that? Go ahead and jump in and play with it, man.
So it's a drums on 2?
Drums are on 2, yeah.
Drum.
That's the whole kit, man, right there. That's the Al Green drum sound, man.
It's a Hodges.
It was just great to go down, meet Jerry, and just hang out down there, hearing the Al Green tapes, and just it was, you know, we were like spoiled kids. And in 1993, we saw Al Green on the banks of the Mississippi for the 4th of July concert. It brings back a lot of memories.
It's Chalmers, Rose, and Chalmers. On the 8-track, they give 2 tracks for the background vocals. That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Let's stick together, loving you whether, baby, whether times are good or bad, happy or sad.
Might as well go home, guys. Can't follow that.
These are some of the really important copyrights we had. Here's your Mystery Train, and you know, I Walk the Line, Blue Suede Shoes.
I'll tell you what, let's try it one more time.
Craig, you got a new world's record. It's 29.
This place is where lots of really great stuff happened, and it's the bar, of course. Yeah, and it hasn't changed at all since the 1960s. This is where when Elvis and all those guys would go out of town, when they got off tour or whatever, or making movies, they'd come back here to see Sam and party here, you know, so been a lot of good times here, you know. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that, man.
Yeah,
that was fantastic.
Watch your steps, there's been some drunks fall down here before, so.
Break my back.
Yeah, you don't want to break your back again, that wouldn't be good.
Spinning it up.
Finally, after 25 years, the original Tom Dowd mixers are going to be mastered to vinyl.
Think we're ready to fly here. Dead quiet between, that's great. Don't hear any pre-echo or anything, that's good.
So you hear that on some LPs, don't you?
It's on
the pre-echo.
It's on every disc, if you in headphones especially, but it's a matter of minimizing it. God, that sounds good, man.
Turn that one. Are you going to? So yeah, the throat's turn up.
Is that you on the wall?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Memphis, this, isn't it? Steamy night in Memphis.
When Bobby presented Free to me, it was just the bare bones of a track. Bobby felt that his voice didn't really suit it, so it was like, right, get Denise over. I think I've got that sort of melancholy in my voice anyway. It's not something that I have to work on because, you know, it's taken from experience of obviously bad things that have happened in your past, sort of thing, that you bring into your music.
It sounded fantastic, it sounded beautiful. The production, the arrangement, the mix, the performance, perfect. You know, it was like how I dreamed it would be. And if we'd released this version of the album 20 years ago, maybe people still, it might have been too much for people because it was too much for us. Maybe it was too grown up and too sophisticated for us. As much as we came here wanting to make a sophisticated record, I think maybe when we heard the original mixes we felt, I think Andrew thinks we thought it was too slick or something. It's the album that came out on Creation in 1994. It was like completely different. Free was like a mix by George Clinton from Parliament Funkadelic, and it's kind of, George made it into like an acoustic ballad. It's the band, he took the band off. And I was, yeah. But I guess we must have liked it at the time.
You're cheating me, you're cheating me, cheating me. Ooh, baby, I'm free of you. Ooh, baby, I'm free of you. Free of you.
All right, you guys. I'll give you this as a reference disc you can have and take home and listen to. There you go.
Thank you very much.
I'll find something for you to put that in. But look at that. Look how beautiful. Smell it.
I love the smell of vinyl in the morning.
Doesn't matter how old you get, when you get handed that piece of freshly cut vinyl, you feel like a kid again with your first record. It's so exciting.
That's a good buzz, man, I tell you.
Lord, can't you stop them guns?
The thing is, it's like, you know, like people made records, you know, and the question of whether they were black or white didn't matter, you know. Those records are so soulful because the people that played on them were so soulful, and the people that wrote them were so soulful. You know, like Dan Penn was like he's a white guy, but you know, he's written some of the greatest like soul ballads ever that were, you know, considered like, you know, soul classics, and soul music is like considered like a black, you know, genre. You know, it's like, you know, soul has got nothing to do with what colour you are.
Back again. We need him to deliver us.
I think there's a side of Primal Scream. This is real rock dog stuff, right? But there's a gentle, reflective, soulful vulnerable side of Primal Scream that hasn't really been shown for a long time. That is a very important part of the band, but also I've got to say that, you know, a lot of it had to do with Robert Young and his soulfulness.
It's Robert's outstanding performances for the band. You know, his performances are incredible on this record. He's so soulful and so beautiful, and it's kind of his creative, say it's his peak. It's kind of his record in a way.
In the context of 1994, I'm glad we never put that out. Because we were trying, at that point with Primal Scream, I was trying to make them the biggest band. And coming off the back of Screamadelica, if they come up with the right record, we could have made them absolutely smash it. But it wasn't, we didn't have the right record because it wasn't the type of record that would take you into the stratosphere, and it wouldn't have smashed through. So I think we did do the right thing.
It was like a fucking wound for me. I felt we went to Memphis and failed. When people say to me, like, no Gallagher, I love that album, I'd be like, alright. I think, fuck. You know, our intentions were good and pure, I think, and somehow along the way, we lost the record that we came to make. We wanted to make something, yeah, sophisticated and adult, grown up, and something classic, you know. When Andrew sent me the songs from the tape that he found, I was just full of joy. We actually achieved what we set out to do. It is like a validation, really. And if we never make another record again, I don't care. Because I don't really think we can make better music than some of the tracks on this album. Not supposed to say that, but that's what I think, yeah. Music's, yeah, I love it. It's made my life worth living. Yeah, it's never let me down.
You'll never be a stranger. I will always be your friend. Be devil, be you angel.